Surah Al-Anfaal, according to the qira'at of Asim, is 75 ayah. But according to the qira'at of Ibn Kathir and others, it is 76 ayah. And according to the qira'at of Ibn Amir, it is 77 ayah. So what exactly is going on here? Are there extra ayat here in this qira'ah, while there is something missing here and there? Well, of course not. The numbering of the ayat refers only to the division of the surah into ayat. So it is only a number. But the content of the surah itself is exactly the same. The simplest example in this case is the number of ayat in Surah Al-Ikhlas. The surah is divided differently among different qira'at, making it 5 ayat in certain qira'at, and in other qira'at it is just 4 ayat. But the content of the surah is exactly the same. And this is of course the most important thing. So this difference, while it is not unimportant, it doesn't affect the content of the Quran in any way. But then still remains the question, where does this difference come from? Well, the scholars of Islam explain this phenomenon in 2 ways. The first is that this ayat counting variation is to be compared to the variations of the qira'at. The qira'at are part of the revelation, and so is the counting of the ayat. So just like we read, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, and we also read, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. This ayah was revealed as لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ, and it was also revealed as لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ. And this is how it was passed down. That's why the methods of counting the ayat, which are 7 methods, the first Madani, the last Madani, Makki, the Kufi, and all the other ones, all of them have their own sanad, or the line of narrators. Like for example, the Kufi method, which its sanad lead up to Ali ibn Abi Talib, who was one of the writers of Wahi. So this is not something that the Sahaba came up with by themselves. So, in a nutshell, the first explanation is that the counting of ayat and their division is tawqifi, so from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. The second explanation for this difference is how the Sahaba perceived the recitation of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in certain surahs. But what does that mean exactly? Well, it is a known sunnah that the Prophet, peace be upon him, stopped at the end of each ayah. And so, based on this, the Sahaba could tell where an ayah ends and where it starts. That's why certain surahs don't have any variations in terms of the number of the ayat or their placement whatsoever, since this is how the Prophet, peace be upon him, always recited them. However, in certain instances, the Prophet, peace be upon him, would sometimes stop in certain positions, and then other times different positions in the same surah. And so the Sahaba who heard the stopping understood this to be an ayah, and those who heard the linking did not consider it to be an ayah, which led to this variation. We also notice this happening in some ayat that are grammatically related to the ayat that follows, suggesting that the Prophet, peace be upon him, stopped in different places in the same ayah. And all of these combined give us a complete picture as to how the Prophet, peace be upon him, recited this portion of the surah. So, now that we have seen the 2 explanations for this phenomenon in the Quran, which of these 2 opinions is the correct one? Well, it doesn't really have to be one or the other. This difference could be due to the way the Quran was revealed to the Prophet, peace be upon him. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, recited in a certain way and stopped in different positions because this is how it is revealed, and that's how he wanted to teach it to the Sahaba. But one thing is certain, is that the Sahaba didn't have their own input in that matter. And there are several points that show this. First, there are very long ayat in the Quran that the Prophet, peace be upon him, could not have recited in one breath, like the famous ayah of the dead. If it was just a matter of pausing of the Prophet, then this ayah would have been several ayat. But that is not the case. In fact, the Sahaba referred to this very ayah as the ayah of the dead. So they knew it and were taught that this is one ayah. Second, understanding the Prophet's exact references. When Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, about al-kalala, which is the person who died without parents or offsprings. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, referred him to the last ayah of Surah An-Nisa, which means that the positioning of the ayat were taught to the Sahaba. And when the Prophet, peace be upon him, would refer to a certain ayah, even by its order, they would understand the reference, suggesting that the division of the ayat, where they start and end, was known and recognizable to the Sahaba. Moreover, similar ayat in exactly the same situations are treated differently, like the beginning of Surah An-Naml. Ta-Sin is not considered an ayah in any qira'ah, while Taha is an ayah in some qira'at, but in others it is not. So, if the Sahaba had their own input in that matter, we would also have a variation of Ta-Sin where it is a separate ayah, but that doesn't exist. Fourth, its close integration with the qira'at. In certain qira'at like Abi Amr and also Warsh, the application of imala, which is a tajweed rule, is applied only at the end of ayat in specific surahs. So the oral performance is affected by the placement of the ayat, which means that it was part that was transmitted along with the Quran. So when we say that there is a difference in ayat in the Quran, we only mean that it is related to the counting and the division of the ayat, and it is not related to the content. And in any case, it is a branch of knowledge learned from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Thanks for watching. If you want to start learning the tajweed, then start with this playlist. And also, don't forget to check my latest book about tajweed and download the companion app. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.